everything you've asked. Everything's going according to plan.
Governor, we won county, and the NAPAC has never been stronger. So tell us, Governor, what else can we do for you?
I got it from here. Welcome to another episode of Bears Like Life Talks. Today I have my right hand man, Mr. Ben McNew, with me to help me discuss benefits and disadvantages about people with disabilities getting married, with benefits or without benefits. Welcome to the podcast, Ben.
Hey, Barrett, thank you for letting me have me on here. This is so cool. It's actually my first podcast. I've never done a podcast before. I listened to them and never been on one, so I'm actually pretty excited.
Well, the advantages that you can have with a disability, SSI, and a lot of other things is your insurance is basically paid for through the government, whether if that's through the disability agency, whether that's through somebody else or through your family members, like my case is Ben, but a lot of this comes up to SSI and government, what the government allows you to do, which shockingly isn't much. And yes, I've seen other people talk about this, but nobody talks about the effects that it has in other states. And that's what I hope to bring you on this series.
Yeah, so I know we've talked about this now for, my goodness, for a few months now. Mm-hmm. And I think I was just blown away when we were talking about it, how disabilities, first of all, is more than just, I think some people, when they think of disabilities, they think of just people in wheelchairs, but there's all kinds of different avenues as considered disabilities. But for what I've seen, you tell me if I'm wrong or not, is that basically it doesn't matter the degree of the disability, like how much you're able to function on your own, how much you're not, or whatever. The amount that you get is basically the same. Am I right about that?
Yeah, that is correct. And just recently they upped it to $900 something a month, which still was an improvement, but it's still not enough that you can last on your own.
Yeah, so basically it's like they give you enough money to pay for your needs, or so they say, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't even include things that you may want to do. And so it's interesting because, tell me if I'm wrong, another thing that I've picked up on just some research and through our conversations is basically you're also limited to the jobs you can have as well, because if you make too much money, then that will affect your benefits. Is that correct?
Yeah, because I'll basically be gone by that point. And that's everybody across the board. And I can tell you, living in that system, and shockingly, I'm scared to say this on the podcast because people judge people thinking they can get married and still keep their benefits. I'm like, no. And that's what I hope to show people through this podcast. Once you legally say you're married to somebody, like all that stuff goes away unless you marry somebody that's below the poverty line, same as you. And I know we were both shocked when we found out that they only essentially pay for one person's benefits.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I have the specifics here. So it just makes it difficult for people with disabilities to ever, get married or have a family, because it makes just the benefits. Because to put things into perspectives, okay? So your SSI amount, so that is what Barrett was talking about earlier, is affected when you get married, and here's how. So basically, if you both have disabilities, you receive these benefits, but you can only receive $1,371 as a couple. Now, as you said, that number has been updated, but basically the way I understand it is that how they get that number is it's a person and a half. that you actually get paid. So like whatever the full amount is, then the next person gets half of that. So as a couple, you basically get a person and a half of benefits. So in other words, when you get married, and in a way, it's actually devalued because instead of getting full benefits, you're only getting basically half the benefits you were before. So that already adds into that. You know, you already said that whatever the 970 a month, whatever that number is, and it is 970 something. I remember we discussed that. Is that basically that doesn't even cover what you have, but then not only that, you get married and that price even goes down. But another thing that was interesting though is that if you marry someone and let's say that they don't have disabilities, that they do not receive the SSI benefits, that you can only have $3,000 of assets. And so basically, if you have more than $3,000 of assets, then you basically lose all of the SSI benefits and everything that has to be covered at that point by whatever money is made between the couple. Which you know could be good, but in reality, like me and you discussed this, that number has to be pretty high for the one person to make, or between you to even cover what you need covered as a person with disabilities.
And I'm not talking about, you know, the poorest of the poor. Like it's essentially impossible. Cause like you said, you can only have 3,000 in your account, not just separately, together. It's like, well, how am I supposed to pay for this? How am I supposed to pay for that? The point being is that you have to rely on somebody else. But as far as a disability person, it's kind of like, okay, you're basically saying I am another child and I cannot take care of myself because not only do we have to deal with the stereotypes which you've seen because me and you work together for so many years now. Not only do you have to deal with the stereotypes, but you have to find somebody else to help you out paying bills and house payment. I know if I had to pay for a house payment, that would be way over my budget, and rent's so high right now in 2023. It's like, what do you want us to be? You want us to be homeless? It drives me nuts when people on YouTube go up to these famous, you know, interable couples or a couple that has a disability, and people are shocked that they don't have insurance. I'm like, cause you can't work where you want to work and have insurance.
Yeah, so you know, for those who don't know, I'm actually a youth and worship pastor, and so when I hear this, you know, whether the whole point that I come back to is the value of life, right? And so when I hear that, you know, basically, oh, you're valuable until basically, you know, you get married, and then well, now you're less valuable to us, and so I think it's a problem in our society as a whole. Because we ultimately don't value people how we should, and so basically, you know, I think I think it's good for us to be aware of the struggles that other people go with, and the people with disabilities in this case, to understand that we just don't understand where they're at currently. And so basically, you kind of said this. So this means basically that on your own, you can't really buy a house and a car. You might be able to buy one or rent or something. But there's no way you could buy both if you were to get married or even by yourself, because if you did, well, then you have too many assets or too much money to actually to actually pay for those things and receive the benefits. And so it's almost something like, okay, you basically, like you said, you got to pick or choose. And so,
Yep. And it's almost, I feel like a slavery most time because, like, it is slavery, and I feel bad for people that, you know, have a dark past through that with their family members, but it's the truth. It is slavery because you either have to sit at home, watch TV, keep your benefits, you can't do anything, and all your friends are working, getting married, and you feel like you're stuck. And when I say it is like almost depressing in a way, it really is. And I don't mean like, you know, committing suicide or anything like that. I mean like you feel like if you go one way and then you're losing this, and if you feel like you go another way, you're losing that. Either way, there is no way out unless you somehow win the lottery and get $1 million and are able to sustain that for the rest of your life. That's almost impossible unless you can find people to give you a chance on a regular job and work with you to find the right combinations and knowing the laws around that. But see, not everybody talks about that. So, it aggravates me when I go on YouTube and they're like, "Oh, this person married them for their benefits." I'm like, you don't have any benefits to give, because if you go over the financial limit, whatever that is, you basically lose everything unless you can pay for insurance and all that yourself.
Well, I think it's a good topic to discuss, and definitely thank you for making us aware of that.
Join us for part 2 next time on Bear's Regular Podcast on disability dating / marriage relations. You can email me at BARETS.SWAGUYLIFE@gmail.com.